Call us to order and welcome you all to the April 11th, 2019 regularly scheduled school board meeting for the Yellow Springs Board of Education. This is where we have to do our monthly required and necessary business, and it's wonderful to see all of you here. I want to just note that we should have a sign-up sheet, a little booklet on the table in the back. Please put your name down in there so that we know that you came to visit. We're a somewhat diminished board just at the moment. One of us is absent this evening. One of us is, I think, stuck in traffic and will be here momentarily. So we'll get to order because this does constitute a quorum. So if I could ask the treasurer to call the roll.
Steve, too.
Here.
Aida will be absent. Sylvia?
Yes.
Stephen is currently absent, and it's TJ.
Here. Good. So our first item of business is the approval of the minutes for the two meetings in March, the regular meeting and the special meeting. Can I have a motion, please?
Second.
Okay, do we have any edits or additions or anything that needs to be adjusted at all? Looks pretty good to me. Call it open.
Okay. Sylvia?
Yes.
TJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes. Okay, very good. I'll acknowledge again persons present, welcome, and we will have a time in just a moment for community comments. I want to move on to items number 2 and acknowledge the 3 letters that the board received this month, listed A, B, and C in the agenda. And now I want to move on to our community comments section. At this point, we invite anybody who'd like to come to address the board. Please step up to the microphone, except Eli. Anybody else other than Eli? We ask you to just, for purposes of the camera, tell us who you are,
Please introduce yourself.
Introduce yourselves, your connection to the schools, and we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes so that everybody has a chance to speak. Take it away.
President Kahn, board members, thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Eli Hurwitz, and I'm the president of the Yellow Springs Education Association. First, I would like to say that I'm glad we have finalized dates for negotiation, and I want you to know we plan to engage in the process with open and honest dialogue about the creative solutions we know to exist for our school district and community. The ability to work collaboratively throughout this process is very important to us. I've also come here tonight to thank our district's teachers. You employ a tremendous group of educators that truly care for the students of this community, my community. We're moving from the season of the plague to a beautiful spring testing season. Spring is actually quite beautiful, testing not so much. In fact, standardized testing is neither standard nor testing, but the argument of moving the measure of success is not why I'm here. I'm here to thank our teachers for the success that they have had in preparing our students. I want to thank our teachers for preparing our students to be critical thinkers, not test takers. I want to thank our teachers for teaching our students to be critical consumers of their own learning, not numbers on a chart unable to speak up when they don't understand. Our teachers have led our students to look closely at the ground we walk on, to understand why it matters, to look closely at others, to understand why kindness matters, and to look closely at themselves to see that they and their voice matter. Our students are champions, fearless thinkers, and our teachers want nothing more than to lift them higher. These tests are required by the state. Our teachers help our students overcome fear and teach the lesson of getting done what has to be done so we can get back to the business of learning. That turn of a phrase is inappropriate. Learning is not a business, nor is teaching. They are instead acts of courage and vulnerability. I want to end by thanking our students and our teachers for the tremendous amount of vulnerability and courage they show every day by showing up. And thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eli. Thank you very much. Here.
Thank you, Board of Education, Administration, and community members for allowing me to speak before you this evening. My name is Sarah Amin, and I currently teach 6th grade math and language arts at Mills Lawn. This is my 12th year as a teacher at Yellow Springs, collectively my 20th year in my career. In this district, I've had the opportunity to teach a variety of grade levels and subject areas, to collaborate on various teams and committees, and have been an integral and inclusive team member during the redefinition of this learning community as a PBL school. I'm extremely grateful to be working in this district for their strong support from the Board of Education and administrators. I would like to personally thank my direct supervisor, Matt Hausch, for always keeping his door open, for listening to our ideas, and encouraging all teachers and support staff to pursue experiences that strengthen us as teachers and leaders in our schools. It is with gratitude to the board that I can say teachers in this district are encouraged to be leaders of change with sponsorship to deeply immersive conferences such as BIE PBL Academies and the incredible Deeper Learning Conference in San Diego, which in my experience have expanded my mind and helped me find new ways to think about my work. It is in this district that we have been given space to use our voice, share our professional knowledge, and represent our school and district in a variety of ways. It is in this district that teachers played a fundamental role in our PBL journey as participants in the 2020 Strategic Committee and have led PBL implementation as coaches. It is in this district that teachers have presented at PBL Ohio and led staff training sessions in other districts. Teachers have traveled to Northern Ohio with the Alpha Project to present and encourage inquiry best practices as it applies to PBL. It is in this district that I have had the opportunity to represent my team as team leader and work side by side with resident educators as their mentor. I feel strong, motivated, and empowered. Empowered because I have sought out learning opportunities for myself, opportunities provided by this district to strengthen my role as an educator. I'm here today to speak on behalf of my role not only as a teacher, but as an integral part of our learning community. As educators, we're eager to expand our knowledge about a wide range of topics. We consistently immerse ourselves in new experiences that we can bring back to the classroom to enrich our curriculum and to connect with our students. We are also creative thinkers, a rich resource to be utilized in moving our district, our school district, and community forward on innovative and forward-thinking path. We are unified in expressing diverse voices towards our mission, providing a rich and innovative learning environment for our students. Teachers are willing and eager and expect to engage in conversations relating to implementation of ideologies and PBL pedagogy, specifically with regard to what that looks like in unique and individual classroom environments. My hope is that we as teachers continue to have a seat at the table, working with the Board of Education, administrators, and community stakeholders to have our collective voices heard in shaping the future of our schools. Only together can we be fearless thinkers. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kate Lohmeyer. I'm the health and physical educator at the 712 building, McKinney Middle School and Yellow Springs High School. I'm here, my comments will be brief. I'm here to thank the board and administration for sending me to the Deeper Learning Conference. It was a very powerful experience and I came back from that experience empowered and excited to talk about vision for the future of this community. I also want to personally thank Jack Hatter. I was here 1 month ago talking about moving the bar forward in the classroom and thinking about the high school educational experience. And that was heard, and Mr. Hatter made the effort to come in and sit in my classes, spend time with my students, to allow them the opportunity to exercise their voice in thinking about how their future involved in their educational experience and the things that should be included in that experience. So that showed tremendous courage, vulnerability, and I admire Mr. Hatter for taking the time to do that. I'm also very impassioned and empowered by that experience, and hope and look forward to working collaboratively with you in the future on that sort of idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come to the microphone? Okay, because what we really want to get to, I think, is 2.3. Sorry, was there somebody else? No, I didn't think so. Okay. So we're going to now move to our Schools in Action part, 2.3. Peg Morgan's third graders and their Digging Deeper into the Soil project. So can we have those people here, please?
You can move the microphone down a little bit too. Just kind of tip it over.
Let me see if I can. There. Whoop. That's not going to work. There we
We represent the third grade at Melissa. Hi, I'm Lila. I'm Bryce. I'm Graham. I'm Hazel.
I'm Peg Morgan, their third grade teacher.
Our driving question is, how can third grade citizen scientists research and collect data in order to help agrarian improve or maintain healthy soil? Our class is studying soil to prevent natural disasters like a second dust bowl. By studying soil, we begin to understand soil biology and needs. Our first field trip was to Antioch Farm to study composting. Composting takes organic waste and returns nutrients to use that soil. Composting builds humus, which builds healthy soil.
Our first test was to determine the type of soil. There are 4 basic types of soil: clay, silt, sand, and loam. All of our tests indicate that Yellow Springs soil is clay. Clay holds water. It compacts soil so it might need to be drained. It needs composting to help become healthier. Compost adds humus, which is dead plants and animals. Compost attracts decomposers.
The second test is about decomposers. We used the test on wearing white cotton underwear to see how healthy the soil was. We buried the underwear at Agraria. We are going to know how healthy the soil is because if the white cotton underwear is decomposed, it has lots of holes in it, risks all signs of decomposition. The organisms in the soil, earthworms, beetles, bacteria, and mold, break down the underwear by eating through it. We leave the elastic band sticking out of the ground not only to be able to see where we buried the underwear, but because the insects can't eat the elastic. This is pretty much the main part of our project. I think it was the best part. Another decomposer test counts soil invertebrates. A Burley's funnel test is a soil insect pitbull trap. It tells us about insect soil diversity. We bury a specimen jar and put a funnel in it. Inside, we put bait to attract insects. We use carrots and apples for bait. We built teepees on top to protect the jar from rain. The next week, we dig up the jars and count the insect diversity. We hope our soil science today informs our soil decisions tomorrow.
They're very excited about the white cotton underwear, but they would not hold it tonight. I want to thank the administration and school board for letting the students and the teachers here develop inquiry-based learning through project work. We're getting out of our classrooms. We're really excited about this. The connections, 3 years ago, third graders interviewed Susan Jennings of Community Solutions. And from that has grown this Agraria connection with all this field work. We've got Becca Eastman, Brandon Lowry, Lee Extroth of the Greene County Soil Conservation District, Terry Graham, one of our retired teachers, Kim Landbergen of Antioch College, and myself. And we are going to be trained to be teachers at Agraria for their Agraria Educators Workshop. And we hope that we'll continue to build that. Many of our teachers here in the district are going to sign up and attend that. Also next year, Agraria wants us to help them with what they're calling a BioBlitz. And that's where our students are involved in collecting data about events in nature, biology in nature. We're going to submit this data to the Yellow Springs News, so we're growing that connection also. If you think about Bill Felker's wonderful piece, we're hoping that somehow we can grow something just as wonderful and showing all the different connections. And thank you very much. It's really been a wonderful experience.
Well, thank you. Ooh, yes. So, okay, I have 2 questions. First, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
Lila.
Lila, I'm sorry, Lila. So the very first phrase you used in your presentation was citizen scientist. Can you just tell me what that phrase means?
It's basically just like average citizens of a town, city, state, I can't think of anything other, who are being scientists.
Okay. And so my second question is, what have your results been so far?
Our results that we don't know about the underwear yet because we haven't taken it out.
Okay.
And but the result, we'll figure out the results for these funnel next time we go to Agraria.
When will we do that?
I think next Wednesday.
So
And-
every week we get to go.
Oh, great.
And our results, the average soil temperature in my soil team is between like 50 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit, obviously. And usually the moisture, it really depends on how much it's rained.
Okay. Great.
Any more questions?
I have a comment.
Please.
So I just want to say thank you for the work you're doing for our community and our schools. Soil is obviously really, really important, but I guess I want to know why you all think soil is so important. Why is it important to study soil? What do you think? Why should I care about soil? Anybody want to answer that?
Don't be afraid.
Because soil helps our crops grow, and if we don't have soil, then we'll have dirt, which doesn't help things grow.
That's an interesting distinction. Soil and dirt. Yeah, I like that. That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Anybody
Yeah.
else?
I-
Why is this important?
Because
Step on up, honey.
one, nobody wants another Dust Bowl, and
So I want that.
two, like Bryce said, the soil helps our crops grow, and if we don't have crops, we starve, and we don't want that either.
Yeah, we don't have vegetables, right? I mean, that's kind of important.
Also, they haven't been introduced to this idea, but what I'm learning, because I've been part of the learning also, my learning curve has been huge. The whole idea of using soil to help us with the unfortunate carbon loading that we've got, and using soil for sequestration of carbon. So when they talk about Agraria being a regenerative farm, it goes beyond just our community of Yellow Springs. We would be helping the Miami Valley. We would be part of, there's only like 5 of these regenerative farms in the United States right now, but they hope to grow this movement. So it's really exciting what we're all a part of here.
And Ms. Morgan, my understanding is you're going to be part of a team that, and several Yellow Springs teachers, part of a team that's going to be creating curriculum
Yes.
for other schools to come to Agraria and learn. And so,
Yes.
I think it's important to point out that Yellow Springs teachers are leading the way with this work in Agraria, and our own teachers are kind of leaders of other teachers in other schools. And so I appreciate your passion and the work you've done with this as well. So,
Well, it's my privilege.
yeah, great. So thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you. And for those who are here for that presentation, you should not necessarily feel obligated to stick around for the rest of it. It's pretty much all downhill from here. But thank you again, third graders. We'll have to give them a moment to
Yeah, thank you.
clear out.
Yeah, my soil, me and my buckets. Oh, great, thank you. Kids, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
You guys did a great job.
Oh, can't stay here? We can't stay here,
Okay, well, that was wonderful, and thank you again, Peg Morgan, for all of that, and it's just really terrific, all of this work outside of the classroom, digging in the soil, so. We're going to move on to 2.4 now. You all know I'm speaking, I guess, mostly to the camera since our audience has thinned a bit. That we have engaged K-12 consultants to help us search for our new superintendent. And so I want to turn the next item on the agenda over to Deb and to Dennis to report on essentially the completion of phase one, or the first step in this process. And so thank you to both of you for coming, and the floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you so much for allowing us to be here and present the profile report to you. Dennis and I enjoyed our day here at Yellow Springs Schools, interacting with the students and the staff and the community, and it was really an enjoyable day. So we want to, first of all, if you could change the slide, talk to you about how many people participated in this day that we had. So we had 6 stakeholder groups. You can see the stakeholder groups listed on the PowerPoint: parent and community, teachers, high school students, support staff, and district administrators. Those, the numbers following the group tells how many people were in each focus group that we held. In addition to that, totally you had 110 surveys. That is awesome. We don't get that many surveys in large school districts. So that says a lot about your staff, your community, your kids. It says a lot about that. So we wanted to commend you for the excellent participation that you had. And I think that you'll see that helped us get some really accurate results.
Good. Well, since Debbie mentioned that, I wanted to thank Eli for his help. I talked to him quite some time ago and I asked him if he would help nudge teachers to participate in the focus group sessions as well as the surveys returning, and he did that. We have identified in the report common themes by subgroups and by overall combined common themes. They were categorized by frequency. In other words, 1 or 2 people bringing up a particular item would not qualify as a common theme. Doesn't mean, though, that that's not something we can share individually with board members and principals as we go along here. But so we were careful to make sure that we weren't just listing a common theme as a single reaction that somebody had. Now, the themes themselves, just as a reminder, will be utilized in a number of different ways. We feel this entire report will help drive questions that the board members will ask during the interviews. Also, it will be a document that the candidates themselves will receive from us. They will study it. It'll be a combination. Not only are we looking at candidates to see if there's a fit for what we see in this report, but they also will be analyzing this to see if they feel they have a fit. So it's a very important document, and it's just one thing I would remind you is that we have been reaching out to individuals, and they have expressed questions for us. And I think the board knows that if we're reaching out to candidates that are currently successful in their job, then they on their own will be doing their own checking, their own interviewing, and making their own determination and conclusions as well. Okay.
So the first question that we ask all of the focus groups, you as board members answered that very question for us. You didn't participate in the focus group meetings, but you did have the same set of questions as folks participating. Was, what do you consider to be 2 or 3 significant strengths of this district? And loudly and clearly we heard that you have dedicated, hardworking teachers and staff members that genuinely care about not only the kids, but their families too. And what a nice compliment to you. We also heard that you have innovative project-based learning curriculum that empowers and involves students in the educational process. It really does give them that real life experience and they become strategic problem solvers. So that was another strength, and it came from all stakeholder groups. Supportive parents and supportive community. We heard this, and we also heard that the community's small and the school is small, and they like that. They want to keep it that way. So that was very, very prominent in the discussions that we have. And then last, the school has created a culture here that embraces and values and encourages diversity. So those were the 4 most significant themes that we saw across all focus groups. Now, in your report, you will see the subgroups split out, but we wanted to just talk about the consistent themes this evening.
Right. Moving on to the next area here, we call it what were the concerns and issues that people across the board shared with us. As you might guess, we received quite a few. Some of them were isolated and some were not. The very first one you see here, aging facilities needing repair and upgrading. Without a doubt, the number one overall concern that was raised, top three for all of the all of these subgroups, actually number one in most of them. So that is an ongoing problem that you have, and you're certainly aware of that. One teacher wrote to me and said that she hoped the new superintendent would try to be creative with respect to this particular problem, and she reminded me of a district near Cincinnati where the school board partnered with a local hospital, and they were able to raise money to build a new high school without going to the taxpayers for it. So there are creative ways, perhaps, sometimes, that some of these issues can be looked at, and I certainly will not touch into that particular story again. Okay, project-based learning is, without a doubt, probably one of the best things that happened here. More people spoke in favor of it than did not. But there is an overall concern that we heard through a number of different groups, primarily the teachers and the students and a number of parents, that they would hope that there would be updated data systems put into place, that there'd be a restructuring, a fine-tuning of the project-based learning. The students themselves had particular concerns of theirs, that they were wondering about the impact that the program has on the core curriculum, and if that could be looked at. Basically, I just kept hearing the term a refreshed look at the program. Not to eliminate it, but to refresh it and make it better and take it to the next level. We heard that so many times. We'd like to see the program taken to the next level. And there was also some concern about the amount of time that is taken for the projects, meaning perhaps too long in affecting the instructional components of the curriculum that they want to have, as well as the age appropriateness, perhaps, for all of the learners. The last item here was kind of a big one: high cost of housing, high taxes, resulting in a disconnect between Yellow Springs' high-income population and many of the district residents who are not part of the high-income population. You all are in a better position to analyze that than I am. I heard that in a number of different ways. It could very well be that the high-income situation here that's being described could impact your student totals. If you have people leaving the district because of the high cost of housing, they could be taking students with them. If you have parents that are not able to move into the district because of high cost of living or housing, and that could impact students not coming here that might otherwise come here. So that, without a doubt, is one that's very real here and on the minds of a number of people.
Okay. Question 3 talked about, please tell us 2 or 3 characteristics that you think the board should look at in the new superintendent. Many of the characteristics that you see here, people reminded us that your current superintendent has those characteristics, and they want to keep those kind of characteristics. So it was a good conversation that here it's a collaborative culture, so they wanted a collaborative leader who can communicate and listen to others before they're making decisions. Someone who has all of those qualities of honesty and trustworthy and visibility and just things that make you a good person. They want that kind of a person here. They want someone here that will embrace the culture and the diversity and not be afraid of it. They want them to collaborate with folks and continue to have this collaborative and acceptance here. They also want someone who can support and understand project-based learning. They like it, they want it to stay, and they would like to figure out how to take it to the next level. And so that we heard that several times. And then somebody who can think about district funding and collaborative issues to face what's happening with the aging facilities. Okay?
All right.
Oh, and I need to also say then,
go ahead.
yes,
Yeah,
go ahead,
go ahead.
next one, Mario. You rank ordered, we had folks rank order the top 10 characteristics of successful superintendents, and you can see that these were the 5 most desired characteristics. Somebody who's fair, someone who's can create a vision for the district, somebody who's smart about curriculum and instruction, someone who accepts the diversity and that's here, the social and economic diversity, and somebody who's organized and can manage the system well.
Is Mario applying for this job?
Well, I did say, you know, people said some of these characteristics are the person we have, and we don't want to lose that. We want you to look for that again, okay?
Okay, final comments, you really see those if you wish on page 10 of the report. There are a number of things I do want to share with you here today. We're showing 6 things here on the board that I want to share with you here this evening. Number 1, I'm hoping now that the board is going to select somebody who's willing to be visible and serve as a role model professionally and personally in the school district. Someone who will value cultural diversity. And that comes to us as representing not just diversity in a broad sense, but diversity as it pertains to students and staff and also the community, valuing that. Continuing a strong sense of community. People clearly want a superintendent who's going to be active in the community as well as being visible in the schools. PBL, as we've been saying here this evening, we really like how students are involved in the lessons. It is valuable to them. Selection of ideas from projects, and we need somebody to help lead us to a higher level of learning. Facility issues, we've talked about that here this evening. That's in my page 10 as well. And then finally, I want to indicate that the new superintendent has to build trust and demonstrate ability to work collaboratively. This is critically important. The school board itself will have a lot to do with the success of the new superintendent. I know Debbie and I feel that way in our own experiences. We would hope that all of you and the community will give this new superintendent a chance to succeed. I want to share with you, I remember my first role as a superintendent. I was in a district just a little bit larger than this. I was in my 30s. I felt, by golly, I've got to show the school board and the staff and the community that I know my stuff. I knew what I'm doing as a superintendent, okay? And fortunately for me, I had a mentor who said, hey, slow down a little bit. You're going to have to, before you do anything, you're going to have to establish trust. You're going to have to build relationships. And if you're telling stakeholders that you subscribe to the notion of collaborating with stakeholders, you have to demonstrate that. So be a person of your word. And I would hope the board would understand the critical importance of how you all need to help coach the new superintendent. You need to guide that new superintendent. We have done searches where we have gotten back the superintendents, so we've heard that maybe they're moving too quickly on issues, and then we urging them to slow down and realize that it's, you know, I remember my 3 superintendencies in my career. I went in, I did not know a single solitary person in the school district, none. I loved it. I was in a position to say to people, you know, whatever I would learn about things, I would learn on my own, and I wouldn't have any preconceived notion about anything. You're going to be in a similar situation. We've got some good people lined up for you to see, and I think you'll be pleased with that. But I'm hoping that the mentor I had was my father. He was a university administrator. He was a provost at one university, and he was the vice chancellor of academic affairs at another university. And he's the one who said to me, slow down, build trust, build relationships, and demonstrate that you will collaborate. So that's our conclusion here this evening. We had a great time doing this. And, have any questions for us?
Questions?
Yeah. Well, okay, first I'm pointing at Stephanie. Is this up on the website?
It is not yet.
Not, but it will be shortly.
In the morning.
It goes out tomorrow.
It goes out tomorrow?
Yep.
I didn't see that, but thank you very much for that.
I just wanted to say that because sometimes I'm not the first one who read the message. So
Yeah, so good. So, I guess my next question is, did anything, any red flags come up as you went through this process? Anything that
There were a couple things that I don't.
Not for me.
We did not feel comfortable putting in those
Yeah.
in the report because they were not a regular theme.
Right.
I mentioned to your high school principal that I would like to share some things with him, and I can share with board members individually at another time.
Okay.
Some things that we heard, we don't even know if they're true or not, but we
Got it.
did hear things that
Yep.
I feel that, Huber Heights did the very same thing as well. They had some issues with a central office employee, and the board asked me to share those with the outgoing superintendent, with hope that maybe some of those things could be taken care of before Mario started.
Right. Got
And
it.
so there are things like that we do try to assist.
But they're very minimal,
Very few.
and we didn't hear them very often.
No.
Okay.
So,
Great.
yes.
And then could you just let us all know what next steps are?
Yes. Well, I wanted to tell you, we have 9 applicants at this time, which is really good, because many of the people we're recruiting are waiting on that report.
Mm-hmm.
I had one person call me and said, I've got everything ready, should I send it to you? I said, yes, you may. He said, but I really want to see the report. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's okay, you got plenty of time.
Right.
So the people we're recruiting would like to see the report, which we will send to them tomorrow morning. We don't release it to them until we release it to you. And then we will be getting together on April 29th. And we do need a time.
We're glad, we're not leaving here tonight until we have a time.
Okay.
That's
I
on
think
board.
we had put like a placeholder in the evening, but I don't think we set a time.
Well, yeah, so the placeholder was 6 to 9.
Okay, so we,
Because that's a
And if
Monday.
that's too early, we can go 7 to 9, whatever you
Well,
choose.
yes, so we are going to be looking at,
Yes, you are going to get an email from me with a secure password.
Right.
And you will go in and look at all the applicants at, probably on the 26th. You will look at all the applicants.
Okay.
And then we will come here on the 29th. And we will bring you hard copies of everything.
And in between that, you will get a document from me that will summarize the work history
right,
and credentials.
oh, like the example that you showed us
Yes,
before?
yes.
Okay.
And that is valuable for you because it's tough to plow through
Yeah.
40-page resumes and things like that. It's really difficult.
yep,
But the work history summary is great, and you can be able to, see a snapshot of these people, about a half-page long, bullet points, and, it really, and I will put down a couple comments, factual, not opinions, factual, or maybe some things they've been particularly involved in, and some things like that for each one.
done. So I guess what I get to is that on the 29th, does 2 hours suffice, or
Yes,
does 3
I
hours?
think it will.
Yes.
2 hours would be fine.
So should we say 7 to 9 on Monday the 29th? Aida not being present, she'll have to suck it up. But
I mean, I thought we all knew it was that evening.
I think
We're
we
just
had-
sort of
yeah.
fine tuning it.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, if that's great. I think 2 hours, because you'll have the opportunity to look at them, and you'll just have questions, and, we will present some information on some of the candidates
And
that
is
we feel are a
that's
good
with the
mix.
goal of, I'm sorry if this is a question
No.
indicating that I don't remember from the whole handout
No, there was a
before.
lot.
The goal of that is to then narrow down from the whatever the larger number is.
To 6 or 8.
Yeah, okay,
Sure.
thank you. So that's what we accomplished that evening.
That evening.
Okay.
We
Right.
accomplished that, and Dennis and I will get on the phone.
It's fine.
You wanna do
Yeah,
6 if
That's
it works
easier
for-
than for anyone else.
Honestly, since I'm coming from campus, 7.
You'd rather have
Yeah,
7?
7
Okay.
would work better for
Seven's
me, yeah.
better, but
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
want
no,
to make
thanks for
sure.
saying so, because sometimes, yeah, okay, so 6.
So that evening, once you determine who those candidates are, we will get on the phone and schedule their interviews for May 6th and May 8th. And then the final interviews are Saturday, May 11th. So
Right.
that's the
May 6th and
process.
May 8th, and we have, those are also evening blocks.
Those are evening blocks,
Okay, and
that's
how
correct.
much time, because again, I.
That
we had
depends on
placeholders.
how many
How many
candidates.
finalists you
Okay.
come up
Yeah.
with?
Okay,
So we can give you a tentative schedule when you tell us how many candidates. We'll bring a couple different schedules for
Okay.
you to look at, depending on how many candidates.
The 29th, we're meeting in executive session.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right, just
Yeah, because we'll
70.
be talking about
Talking about
salaries
personnel.
and
Oh, yeah,
personnel and all
Exactly.
that.
Just so we're
Yes.
clear about
Yeah, I'll
that.
put it as personal.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question. Is it
Yes.
recommended to have a higher number of applicants or just to drop it to 6
It
immediately?
could be fine at 6, just depends.
We just,
I'm just
we're
saying,
doing a
like-
search for Bucyrus, and they decided that 6 stood out to them, and the rest were kind of, so they chose 6.
up to
So
you.
it's just up to you, looking at the
And we're seeing the
candidates.
opposite, people saying, yeah, you know what, more applicants made it.
Well, I will tell you that Fairbanks had 30 applicants, and then we just finished Bethel Local, and they had 27. So they did go with 8 and 7. But depending on how many
Yeah.
applicants you have, that may determine how many you want to interview.
Springbow went with 10 and they regretted it.
Okay.
Big time, they couldn't remember things, you know, about
Yeah,
about
yeah.
people. that-
Right, everybody starts pulling together, right.
10 would be overwhelming.
Okay,
Gotcha.
well, this is, other questions?
I've got one, I guess.
Board, yeah.
You know, since in interpreting this and taking a look at it long-term, was there anything that you saw from past experience that stands out as a big disconnect between groups? I mean, for instance, one that stands out to me is personal involvement and interest in the community. It was ranked high by the board, it was ranked high by students, and interestingly enough, parents and community rank it very low.
Right.
I mean, and I don't know if there's a way to interpret what that means and how we
Well,
use that in the search.
And the opposite of that was, that's not exactly what they said with their survey, and that's not exactly what
Okay.
they said in the focus
Yeah.
group sessions that we had. So we have that happen sometimes.
And
It's the
sometimes,
question, nature of the 10 questions.
yeah, and sometimes they do ask you the question about residency, and we say that's not a requirement, and
Right.
so they're thinking, well, it's not really important then. They interpret that as, oh, well, they're not living in the community, so they don't need to.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different interpretations of that question.
So I guess that follow-up then is do you think that the top 5 characteristics are a fairly strong demand signal from all the stakeholders?
Yes.
And then, so those are the ones that maybe that
I
you focus in
I
on?
would say that the third or fourth one down on the top of that,
Mhm.
is that what you're saying, that
Yes.
the socially,
Yeah.
experience with socially and economically diverse student population. Now,
Yeah, we were surprised that was.
that was ranked high by the teachers and the support staff, lower by the other subgroups. And so the teachers in the subgroup pulled that up
Mhm.
to where it is now.
Hmm.
And I'm of the opinion that's where it does belong in the upper strata myself, you know, so.
Mm-hmm, okay.
So I just had a comment. There, a community member, another parent, who is familiar with the kind of, not for K-12 hiring, but the kind of process that you were running, and was there as a parent, made sure to come tell me that she was really impressed with the job that you were doing. Which, I mean, and you do not always hear that here
In
from
Yellow
people who
Springs,
know.
you know.
No, I mean, like me, I'm always ready to jump on people about data things. I mean, we all have our expertise. But, you know, she went out of her way to say they really ran that
Well, we
very
really
well.
try
So
not
I
to
just
give
for the
our
process.
opinions. We just
Yeah.
listen and we
Yeah.
take notes
But I
and
think a lot of
let
people
their
try
voice
and
be
maybe
heard.
it doesn't come across as it's going well, but, and it was someone whose professional opinion I value in that area, and she wanted to, you know, people to know
Right.
that as a parent, but who also has that expertise, she felt like the process was really done well.
Yeah, and we did have people come up and say, thank you
Yes,
for
they
being
did.
here, thank the board,
Yeah.
because you've let our voices be heard. We
Good.
didn't stifle anyone, we
Right,
just let them, talk. We
Thank
asked
you.
clarifying questions
Yeah.
and that was it.
Good, and I'm also pleased that you're happy with the sample size
Oh,
as
my
it were.
gosh,
So that
yes.
also.
I tell you what, I am personally excited. We've got 4 or 5 people right now that.
He's talking about sample size of the survey.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Return
the
is
survey.
fine,
Yeah,
but
okay, I'm
still.
sorry.
Yeah.
But please go ahead, finish.
Yeah.
I do
We
want to
have
say
some
that.
excellent applicants
I want to tell you right
now.
now, we've got, there are 4 or 5 individuals that we've reached out to and talked with, and they're displaying interest, which is above what we normally get at this stage of the game. It really makes me feel good, because
Good.
We normally don't have 9 applicants at this time.
yeah.
We get most of our
and-
applicants the week before or 2 days before the
Yeah, and
deadline.
there's-
Seriously.
Yeah.
You'll be pleased with the.
Especially if they're happy, they're not gonna turn their application until
Yeah.
the end. They're,
Yeah.
Mario knows how that goes.
Great. Well,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Because this really seems to have gotten off
Thank you.
to a great start, and so we much appreciate this, and thank you for coming in on a Thursday, a lovely Thursday evening,
Yes.
to give us this update.
Oh, and I need to, if you did not sign the contact sheet if you would.
Oh, right,
I just
okay.
need to make sure I have a phone number to get a hold of you, so I can maybe send you a text when the secure portal is available. Okay.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for allowing
Okay.
us to present.
Thank you all.
Splendid.
No, that was great.
All right, so we'll
New
move,
Jersey area code, so don't get. Yeah, right.
we'll move on to item 2.5 in our administrative reports. I think the principal, how she went first last time, so I think we'll have Principal Patter go
That's fine,
first
I
this
believe
time.
in fairness.
Yes, exactly, equity,
Take
Collaboration,
turns
exactly.
Trust, honesty, all those things.
All right, before I jump into the actual, what I have on the report, on Tuesday I did have the opportunity to go in and meet with all of Kate Lohmeyer's high school health classes. And I blocked off my whole day and went in and met with probably around 65 or 70 students. And it was just kind of this really, it was structured. We did a block party protocol where the students looked at articles from very traditional education compared to very progressive education. And they had to look at just pieces, and then they had to go around and talk to people about the piece they read, and they had to trade and go talk to somebody else. So it was like they really engaged in this conversation about what they want education to look like. And then we just sat back, and the students really led an entire dialogue for about 60 minutes of a class period about, we asked that it not be about what was wrong, but how to make it better. So I mean, it's really amazing when you see freshmen, primarily freshmen, but all of our high school kids, just their ability to speak about their own education and their own educational experiences and how they can conduct themselves in a way that's really solution oriented, and that they can see like what is really strong, what isn't so strong, and then also like ideas to improve. So for me that was a really powerful day, and it was rewarding to get to work alongside one of our teachers and to work with our kids in that capacity. So I look forward to that kind of continuing to grow and helping the educational program at our high school. So
That's great.
with the actual report, the whole first page, that's just pictures from Washington DC. So our students had a great experience. They went to Washington DC. They left last week on Thursday morning, and then they got back late on Sunday night. We switched tour companies this year, and we went with 20th Century Tours, and our trip went from 3 days to 4 days. And the trip was actually $50 cheaper, and it included our tickets to Arena Stage, which in the past we had to get outside funding to cover the cost of those tickets. So it was really nice to switch tour companies, and you know, there's always a learning curve when you start working with somebody new. We had some really great conversation with our teacher leaders and with their tour guides, kind of feeling each other out a little bit the first couple of days. But I think at the end of the trip, it was really successful. The one partnership that we have established there is with Lori Sparrow Knapp with Arena Stage. So one of their lead people there, I don't know how she ever connected with him in the first place, but last year we went for the first time, and we had a talk back with the main actor in the show we saw. And then this year they had 4 of their actors come out after the show and did a talk back. But in addition to that, our kids, I think they spent about 3 hours there, and they got backstage, like a tour of the actual facility. They got to see their costuming room. They got to see kind of everything behind the scenes of this regional theater. So just really a really cool experience that when you think about what kids typically see when they go on a Washington DC trip, you know, most schools don't do that. So it's really, it was very, very neat that our kids got that opportunity. So we had 41 kids, like I said, 41 kids got to go. We had plenty of space for any kid that wanted to go. So we're looking forward to that experience carrying on. And then the next page covers our State Theater Conference. We had 33 students, and I want to say 6 or 7 parents, as well as Lori Sparrow Knapp, travel up to the Canton area for the State Theater Conference, where a 45-minute clip of Romeo and Juliet was performed by our students, and then Girls Like That was performed in its entirety. And it sounds like for our kids, the growth that our kids experienced when they were there was just tremendous as far as the confidence of our performers. Performing in front of that big group and then getting a round of applause, like a standing ovation, It sounds like Girls Like That was kind of the talk of the conference, for the entire conference. In addition, we had 4 students who talked with their British accent for the entire conference. So that was, that probably helped. Yeah. So it wasn't until the last day that a couple of them finally stopped. But they had these friend groups that they established with other schools, and they had them fully convinced. So that was interesting.
It's
But
method acting, right?
yeah. But for our kids, our kids got to go see like 5 or 6 different shows. There was a dance. There's just a lot of activities where our kids got to engage with other kids from other schools doing the same sort of work, and they got to see the standard set by, I believe it was Dublin schools, where they have a $20,000 budget for a show, and got to see what it looks like in that capacity. But then they also got to see how well we measure up in a school that's kind of running on more of a shoestring budget, that I think really fits our values more. But our kids got to see that really they could do just as well as those kids. So that was a great experience, and it's one that I think we're hoping to replicate each year. And then my last thing is that Sound of Music. This is actually the exact same thing I announced last month. Sound of Music opens tonight. Yeah. So Sound of Music opens tonight, and the illness has passed for the most part. We have one Van Trapp child that went home from school sick yesterday, but she was back today. So it opens tonight. We're going to run 5 shows tonight, and then we're going to run tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and then Saturday we're going to do a 2 p.m. show, and then we're going to have French Cafe squeezed in the middle, and then we're going to have an 8 p.m. show, and then Sunday we're going to do a 3:30 show. So all those are at the Foundry. We really hope that the community gets out and sees this. I think it's a spectacular show, and I know that the kind of soft opening last night, I think it was really powerful, and the performance of our students singing was
They
just
sounded
really
good and
impressive.
yeah, it was neat.
The much anticipated arrival of the show.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, third time's the charm.
Long time.
Thousands of hankies in the making.
Yes.
Great, thank you, Jay. So I wanted to make sure that my report was really stark and there was no picture included, so that we could have a contrast between my report and Jack's.
You guys could try to outduel each other as interesting as possible.
I think mine has more words, but his probably has more.
There's more content, maybe.
Right.
More information.
Well, I'm all about that. All about content. So it felt like it was just a real quick jump from the last meeting to this meeting. So we had spring break in there. We're on our second week back from that, and kids had to come back, settle in, kind of prepare for the last chunk of school. Started the 4th quarter. We did start state testing today, and I really appreciated what Eli said, and would like to echo that we're doing our best. We're putting our best foot forward. We're trying to let our kids know that it's important, but it's really not as important as other things that we're doing, and that we're going to keep learning and doing all the things that we really want to do and that they enjoy doing. But kids are they're doing well with it, and they want to show that we can do PBL and jump through hoops, and we can do everything as a school. So I appreciate that for sure. Really, the past 2 weeks we've been planning all these end of the year events, which are just significant. We have so many cool things that are coming up, all these great outdoor events. What's not even in there is Bike to School Day, which is coming up, I believe, on the 8th. We've got our graduation, we've got field day. We're going to do something a little bit different with our volunteer tea this year. We want to really make that a significant event because we have so many volunteers that give so much of themselves and so much of their time. We felt like we needed to, but they're not really what make our students shine. Digging around in the soil is what makes them shine. So, yeah, I'll stop.
No, it's good to point that out because, the topic was revisited in some of the comments, and I think it's how everybody sort of feels this time of year when it comes up. And there was a lot of work done over not just 1 year.
Yeah, that's right.
It seemed like it was almost going to get somewhere for us and another small group of schools, and then it was kind of all shut down.
And then it was all shut down, that's right.
Yeah, and you know, sort of it's, for me, there's something almost perverse about doing this right after kids come back from spring break when the weather is great. Because that's really when you want kids sitting at a desk with a timer and a bunch of number 2 pencils, right? That's,
no,
that
no
makes
more
all-
pencils, now
oh,
it's
whatever,
computers, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want.
You don't even get any like, you know,
You get a
physical
sheet of paper and a
activity piece
pencil.
of it, like with the
You
brain.
Next year we have an option to go back.
Oh, interesting,
Okay.
just to keep.
All right, I apologize for that. Thank you to the both of you for that. Let's move on to our treasurer's reports and recommendations.
Okay, so for the month of March, we received our final tax settlement, real estate tax settlement from the county auditor's office. The total for the year was about 1.5 less than what I had projected. I had built in a 1% increase over last year, but we actually had a 0.05 decrease. So, 0.05, sorry. We had a slight increase in our property valuation for the 2019 tax bills, but that in turn is what made we're really close to that 20 mil floor. I mean, we've got 20.00000, and then there's some numbers on the end. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. So we're not fully down to that. But there was an email exchange this week that we got from the county auditor who said that he has done some presentation, I don't know to who, it might have been just to the Budget Commission, where he's talking about how next year is a reappraisal year for Greene County. So it will be a physical reappraisal, not just the triennial update is computerized based on little sects of your population, but this will be a true reappraisal, which happens every 6 years. And so if our values go up, we will likely hit that 20 mil floor. So he just wanted the treasurers to know that he's been talking about this, because there must be other districts in Greene County that could hit that 20 mil floor also. So he just kind of gave us a warning that people might, you know, if they come and start asking questions, it's because he's talking about this, which, you know, for our people, it's a little bit unfortunate because we just don't have very far to go until we get to that 20 mil floor, so it wouldn't be that much of a decrease in their taxes. If the property goes up, then everybody's just gonna hit that 20 mil floor, so we'll pretty much get the same thing. So when I do the 5-year forecast in May, I'm gonna probably take out any increase at all for next year. If we decreased this year and then we have the same situation next year, the reappraisal won't be being done, it's gonna be done in next year. I'm losing my train of thought. But we'll be in the same situation next year. So I just, for half of the year. So I'm going to put in just a very small increase. Under other local revenue, you don't have to necessarily look this up, is where I did the special education excess cost billings for the students that are open enrolled into Yellow Springs schools. And this year, we had from 18 students that qualified in multiple different school districts, probably 6 different school districts that are coming to us. And I was able to bill for almost $167,000. So I think that's the highest that I'd ever billed for. 18 students is a lot this year. So we do get that money. That's all in addition to the $6,000 per pupil amount that is transferred to us via the state foundation payments. This is money that it goes above and beyond that to account for what their special education needs are. It cost us, I think, our base cost this year on average for a special education student was $18,000, somewhere in there. So that's what we get to bill the difference for, and it's based on what kind of disability they have and all that. So for most of these students, I didn't have to bill for anything outstanding, anything abnormal. I just billed the $18,000 because we have a pretty high special education cost here. I asked Jack if he could possibly talk about the Women of Yellow Springs with Kevin Lighty and PBL School Makeover for Cameron McCoy, if you know what those
Yeah, the Kevin Lighty one, that's the banners that you see downtown, and that was the insert that was in the Yellow Springs
Yeah,
News. There
so
are
cool.
additional copies of that insert on the main desk at the high school. If anybody would like to come and pick up a copy if you did not get a copy from the news, we would love for you to come and see. It's really, for me, it's really important for our students' work to be made public, and for their work to be published the way it was published, I think was really powerful. So that's that grant. And then the Mr. McCoy's grant, the PBL School Makeover, the 7th grade PBL Foundations class, their introduction to the makerspace is to basically take our high school, which looks like a very traditional high school, and to put fixtures in to present student work, so that when you walk through our hallways, the great work that our kids are doing is present and you can see it and it's more public. So it's taking a grant from the community foundation that we got to build this makerspace a couple of years ago, and it's using that space, and then another community foundation grant to have our kids actually out. Our students took a field trip to Lowe's on Tuesdays or on Monday, so Mr. McCoy was in DC on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, got back at 11:30 Sunday night, and then left Monday morning with all the 7th graders and went to Lowe's. But for our kids to actually go to the store and you know, when you have material and you're just starting to build, that's one thing. But when you have to go to the hardware store and you have to find what you really need, like that's a skill in and of itself.
I still can't do that, actually.
You did that a few years ago.
Yeah, I did that when we built
For
the
the,
laptop boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is actually the 3rd field trip we've taken to Lowe's. Miss Maternity and Mr. Blythe did when they did the furniture project as well.
Oh, yeah.
But just the idea that you don't just show up in a makerspace and everything's there for you. You have to think about it, like that's the easy part in many aspects. But our kids have been interviewing teachers and seeing what their needs are to present their project work, and like really looking around your classroom, what would you like in the hallways and whatnot. So hopefully by the end of the school year here this year, you'll start to see some major changes in the high school hallways, high school and middle school hallways, and we'll have permanent fixtures where student work can be displayed pretty easily and then traded out with new project work. So.
Can I just, Carol, have you gotten any reaction to that insert? Have you heard any people, I'm just kind of curious to know how people respond.
People love it.
Did they love it?
Yeah.
Okay. And did
Insert
they,
the banners, people.
and are they recognizing that it's a high school project? that
Yes,
students did
we
this?
say over and over again, this is
Wonderful.
Mr. Lay, this is
Good.
the high school, yeah.
That's
The
great.
news was very instrumental as a project partner in that. I think that's really important to point out. I know Matt and Mindy worked with our students on some of the layout work, I believe, and just to be able to establish that partnership with a local paper like that, and really giving our kids an opportunity to really present their work in a professional way, you know, where our whole community can see it very easily, is really, really important. So
For our part, we want to do more. of that
Excellent.
too.
Great. Excellent.
Great.
Okay, moving on, I did do a budget adjustment, and I brought it with me just because I just like to go over it on paper, so that you have in your hands what happened, because I don't like to do budget adjustments, but I wanted to do one this year because we've had some significant changes. But the very first page is what you're going to approve on the agenda. The total will be $11,332,970.89. That is for all of the funds that we have. I did put it, is it on the drive?
Same document, okay.
Yeah. So, just to go through in a little more detail, if you go to the second page, I show what the funds are, what their appropriations are now, and what their appropriations were back in September. So I'm basically adding $155,118 to the general fund, and I'll explain that when I get to the third page. But other changes are just the lunchroom fund. We ended up buying a piece of equipment that I had not budgeted for. So what will basically happen is I wanted to properly take it out of the lunchroom fund, but then at the end of the year, I'll have to transfer general fund money to cover the whole deficit. So, but I did want it to come out of the lunchroom, so we're properly costing the lunchroom out. I think it was a cooler, a cooler at the high school. The principals' funds, those kind of vary based on the things that the principals are doing in their buildings. The Deeper Learning Training Center, I just lowered the budget because We just aren't, we haven't been spending a whole lot out of it this year, and we're really at the busiest time of year we're gonna have, so we're probably not gonna be spending a lot of money out of there the rest of the year. Athletics and student activities, I did have to increase the athletic budget. It's sitting at, I think, around 20,000 in the hole right now. Yeah, $22,680 in the hole. We've got $3,000 on purchase orders, probably a lot of things for spring sports. We will be paying all of the referees, or the umps for softball and the track officials and things like that, so we're gonna have more expenses coming out.
Yep.
This was not a good year. And then the rest of them are just our grants. I have to get in line with what the grants are at the federal level, what they're gonna fund us for. We've got that STEM ODAG grant with Clark State. It's escaping me what ODAG stands for right now.
Department of Higher Education.
Oh yeah, okay, Department of Higher Education. Jack has really been thrust into that these past couple weeks because people from Clark State, and I don't know where else, I don't know if you want to explain what they're going to come look at and assess what we've done with the money and what we could do with the money moving forward.
Trikes project?
Yeah.
So it was a 2-year grant. The first year, both years, the focus is our engineering students doing an internship in an actual engineering setting, and then producing some kind of product, and with like following a case study. And so the first year was the food trikes, where they were building robotic arms that go on and have like a function with the food trikes. This year, so we didn't actually use it really this year. So we were asking for an extension to use it in the fall. And what we're looking at is having our students actually do an internship with YSI and use drone technology to put water testing and soil testing instruments on a drone, and then be able to fly around and measure water quality without disturbing the water itself. So normally, like when you go to a body of water, you have to use a boat. To be able to use a drone to be able to just drop in and not disturb the water wherever you want to measure. And then it looks like it's going to be a 10th grade team project for the fall. We're hoping to do some actual field work up around Grand Lake St. Mary's, where our kids go up there for like a learning expedition similar to the Into the Wild expedition, but where they'll go up and they'll actually measure soil quality around all the different fields, and they'll be able to plot a map of where like the nitrate level in the fields, and then they'll be able to take water samples along the different streams and be able to see how much runoff's going into the streams and where the runoff's entering, and where fertilizer needs to be added for kind of the optimum growing conditions without risk of additional runoff. So the idea is that our engineering students will be working with YSI to build these drones with the instrumentation attached, and then our 10th grade chemistry class will actually get to go out and do the field work with them. So
Great.
Okay, so the last page is just where I made changes to the general fund versus what I put in the 5-year forecast in October to what I am budgeting now. With salaries and wages, I'm always just kind of shuffling, robbing Peter to pay Paul, so $8,000 is just a minor adjustment. Fringe benefits, by the time I do the 5-year forecast, I usually know how many plans that we have, but it looks like I had some people who have actually dropped their insurance, some who've added, so it's basically just changes to the medical insurance. And the purchase services is primarily our legal fees. I did, right before I came in here, I paid Bricker and Eckler yesterday, so I kind of wanted to update the graph so you know where we're at with our legal expenditures right now. And I did put it on the drive, so I'm not going to report on it, but if you want to see where we're at, that graph, though, I've done a graph on where we are at over budget, and that I'm keeping that at what I budgeted at the beginning of the year, because that's the way we're showing that we're over budget. Even though on the books I have to change it so I don't get in trouble with the auditors, I still want to look at the amount that we budgeted. Our utilities have been higher, so they have been for all of residential.
I'm sorry, can I just ask a quick question about that? Are we village utilities? Or are
Yes, we
E&L?
have to be.
We have to be village
Yes.
utilities, okay.
Yes.
So we got hit by the increases just like
Yes,
everybody
absolutely.
else? And so that's,
I have added money and changed purchase orders like 2 or 3 times this year,
okay.
because it just keeps going up. But
Right.
as an exempted village, and with them providing, the village providing electrical, we can't go out shopping and
Yep,
get in
yep.
like a pool with anybody,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
okay.
We're required to keep that.
Okay.
Materials and supplies and technology equipment. One of the unexpected things we had is that we had put on the snowplow, buy a snowplow, and it was like $5,000. So that's just also kind of just moving some money around. I did add $10,000 more to the transfers and advances out because I'm just really nervous about the athletic fund being so far in the red as of right now, and knowing it's going to be even further in the red by the end of the year. And also, I don't know where our cafeteria will end up. That's always, we never really know until the very end of the year. But I want to put some extra padding in there just in case. And then when we receive our tax settlements from the county auditor's office, we have to pay fees for that. And the fees this year were just a little bit higher than what I anticipated. So those are the changes to the general fund. And we typically come in under budget, so I'm still hoping that that's how it will be by the end of the year.
Great. Questions about any of that? Okay, so we'll move on to 3.2, the permanent appropriation adjustment, items A and B. We need a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Otherwise, I think we can call the roll.
Steve, 1.
That's, yes.
I didn't forget. TJ,
Yes.
Steve, 2.
Yes.
And Sylvia.
Yes.
Great, thank you for that, Dawn. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
So I just want to comment on a statement that Don was talking about, or you were talking about in terms of testing. So we are working on new legislation around this now with Rick Corrales, and we actually have language back from the LRC, I don't know what that stands for, but it's the arm of the state government that creates legislation. And so I'm kind of reviewing the legislation now with Rick and a couple other people. And we're literally moving forward with this, which will reduce all state testing to the federal minimum requirement. So it's pretty powerful.
For the whole state of Ohio?
For the whole state of Ohio, yeah. We think we could have some pretty good bipartisan support on this too, and so pretty cool work we're doing right now, and hopefully we can make it, go forward. I haven't had quite the time I need to dedicate to this, but it's been nice that we're trying to do that work.
Bravo for keeping at it, because
Yeah.
it felt like we had gotten very, very close, and then it felt like we got very far away.
Yeah, I mean, every time we talk to legislators, they all say they get it and they
Yeah.
want to change things, and then they don't change things.
Right.
I mean, it's typically what happens, so we're actually kind of pushing them now to do it. And I give a lot of credit to Rick Corrales, because he's pushing this work forward. And he's doing a good job with it, and he's putting his money where his mouth is.
Great.
As a
Good.
congressman, and I greatly appreciate that, or representative. So these are all kind of wrapped together, but just a couple updates on some of these. I don't have a lot to update you on, unfortunately, but I will tell you where we are. So stadium project right now, I just got information back from Kleiningers last week, where they basically have done their first evaluation. They gave me an update through email basically, but all it is it looks at the track, and then they did core samples of the track, and they kind of made some recommendations for the track only. They didn't talk about the issue of drainage.
Oh.
So we're scheduled to have a meeting soon where we can talk about that piece as well. But basically their recommendation with the track is that we take the entire track surface off, go I think 1.5 inches or 2 inches deep into the actual asphalt underneath the track, scrape that down, basically resurface that asphalt, and then put a brand new track on top of it. They didn't find there was a lot of the unevenness of the track wasn't so bad in their opinion from what they saw. But there's still a couple questions I have that we're hopefully going to answer before we actually go out to bid.
I thought that there was a particular, not corner on
Right.
a ovoid track, but in one area, it was starting to sink and we thought
Right.
that was drainage. They didn't find that?
Well, they didn't report on it at all, which I thought was
Okay.
interesting, so that's what we need to,
We need
that's
to
why we need to be
clarify that,
talking,
yeah.
clarify, see what they found on that, hopefully they found it, they
Yeah,
did a
yeah.
good job with it.
So, and people were like that, you know, like, there was stuff about like the trees and that's drainage.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
just everybody like what's the real deal on that?
Okay, so there
Or
were.
if I shouldn't
No,
ask
no,
now,
that's a
I
good
can wait
question,
till you're
I
all
think.
done, sorry.
No, that's a good question. So there are several trees behind the track, behind the away
Right.
stands,
Is that
if
like
you
a
will.
tree line?
And what we found was that after talking to John and the coaches and even Craig, that's a huge problem with the track because the leaves, especially the pine trees, would come and bring, the needles would fall and create sap, and the sap would get on the track and totally destroy the track. And so it's a major issue every single fall that has had a huge impact on the track on that side of it, which is where a lot of the problems are.
I
Right.
So it just
appreciate the
contribute-
clarification of,
Yeah,
there was a reason, but it
Yeah.
wasn't, yeah.
it contributed
Thank
to the
you.
issue. Jack, do you want to add anything to that, or?
Well, it's also the bleachers, I mean.
Right, yeah,
the-
bleachers
The
too.
wear and tear on the bleachers,
Yeah.
the sap falling on the bleachers, the pine needles.
Gotcha.
Yep.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, so that's kind of that issue. So
There's also some stakes and stuff out there, or with some, or is it surveying stuff? Or
I think that's part of their work.
Okay.
So, yeah, so the second piece is Facilities Task Force, so they had their first meeting a couple weeks ago. Really great meeting, everybody, but I think one person on the task force was there, so it was a really great meeting. Carol was there, and we had a few community members who showed up as well. It was an interesting experiment where sort of the ex officios sat on the outside, and then the actual team members were on the inside, which was sort of where the tables were, and we were just kind of sitting back watching, and mostly we were listening. And so it was kind of nice. It was great to listen, but it was hard because they were kind of debating about issues that we knew we had answers to, but we just kind of waited until they asked us questions, and then we could sort of provide the answers, at least at that point. So we're kind of trying to figure that piece of the process out, but I think over time it'll get better as we go forward, and they'll know that if they have a question, they can just ask us as resources in the audience. So since that time, you probably have seen a lot of the work they've done, where they put surveys out for the community everywhere, really, including.
About the track?
No.
About the facilities.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And
Got
so
it.
both
Yes.
electronically and at the library, there's all kinds of different spots in the community too for hard copies.
Huh.
And so this is the Emporium, and this is this committee doing it. So to be clear, I mean, I think a lot of work's been done by Stephanie, but the committee is the one actually, they're taking it out and doing a lot of that, which is really good to see.
And the full committee roster, whatever, was in the paper, so that's
Yeah.
nice. for-
Yeah, exactly, for people to know who's involved.
Yeah.
And so it's a pretty balanced committee, and I'm excited about the work they're going to do. And I think they really want to move the work forward, and they have a strong interest. So their next meeting is next Tuesday. They're actually, during the day, the committee is going to the high school to do a tour of the high school and Mills Lawn School. But Wednesday night, they're doing it again. I believe it's 6 o'clock again, where they're also going to tour again. So some folks will be able to make it during the day, and some folks in the evening. We felt like it was important to have them tour during the day, because we really wanted them to see the school with kids in them, so that they can have a picture of how they function with students actually in the building. So, so that's where they are, and there's a whole calendar of meetings going on probably about every 2 weeks from here until the end of the year, on Wednesdays mostly. And Mel's doing a pretty good job driving the agenda forward and pushing, and she's a very hard worker, and she's she's super active and involved, and I really appreciate, I think she's the right person for the job, because she really has just a real strong, a lot of energy, a lot of push, and she's very detail oriented in terms of getting things going, which is exactly what we need, I think, going forward. The third piece is the facilities assessment. So I just had a meeting, when was that, Dawn? About 2 weeks ago, maybe? Yeah, so about 2 weeks ago, Fanning and Howie, Don and I did, and we sat down with them about the assessment report. Basically, they wanted to know, they said that they have most of, if not all of the function, the building inspection piece done, but next, they're really, in between then and now, they've been working on the educational adequacy issue. In other words, what does kids need for instruction in 2019, and how do these buildings fit that, which is another big piece of that report that's going to come out. So the kind of final absolute deadline, they're gonna present the assessment to the committee on the 22nd of May. So our hope is that we get the report in the next couple weeks, and then I can share it with the board when we get it, and we'll have it in advance of that committee, and I'll have a draft, and then, we'll kind of go from there. So, but their goal is to present to the committee on the 22nd, so that's a pretty hard deadline for them, and so we should have something in our hands, hopefully by next board meeting, for you all to look at least, and go from there, so.
So on the facilities commission, Mario, I had one takeaway that I was supposed to be bringing back to the board.
Oh, yeah, right.
At the end, or do you want me to?
No, do it right now.
Do it now, since we're talking about it. I do want to echo your comments on Mel. I thought it was a great meeting. There was a little bit of confusion in the community, I think, about the questions that were put out. They were not put out by the board. That was all done by the facility task force, so there wasn't any steering evaluation questions about that could have been done differently, and some of the experience of the board members should have helped steer that. And to be clear, it's a totally separate thing.
We're really meaning to not steer it. That's like the
Absolutely.
whole point of this, is the board is not steering this.
Well, like anything, I think people get little bits and pieces.
No, but I mean, just to say it again, to be clear, yeah.
Absolutely. So that segues almost perfectly into the assignment coming back to us was, look, one of the members brought up the question of what are the current board members thinking about the scope of Yellow Springs schools for the future, so what I wrote down. And essentially, is there a visioning from the board that the facilities task force can use in order to help kind of dovetail what they're going to be looking at and produce to come back to us? So I think the question is more specifically focused on, to me, it felt like a vision, kind of where you're going, which is what they're also coming back with, but it's a, what is the board's expectations?
Of
And we've been-
what? Of the facilities, or somehow of the district in the future?
Of the work that the facilities task force is supposed to be doing.
I see.
Is there something that we can give them in terms of the scope that we're expecting back over that? And so what are the current members thinking about the scope of what we want the facilities task force to be able to give in? We have been very deliberate about not giving
Yes, I want
that.
them to
So
finish
it's-
what they're doing without input from us.
Well, so
that could be what I bring back.
Just one person,
Right.
that's me.
How did they imagine we might do that? Do they want us to respond to some questions? They just want us to?
Do they have the whole answers to the questions thing that happened here that night?
Yeah, so
Which was already us talking too much, in my opinion, again, just one person.
What I think, and TJ, let me jump in if I can.
Yeah, please do.
What I think I heard also, maybe related, is this idea of, okay, so the board's gonna be working on a strategic plan in the near future. So, how does that work with this work, and what if?
Maybe this informs the strategic
Right,
plan, once
exactly.
it's finished.
Yeah, and so I just think so this is it's kind of fascinating because this is a committee who I think is really committed to doing this work, and they want to do really good work for you. And so they want to know exactly what you want so that they can do the job they want to do. And so I think maybe the board needs to reinforce what they believe is important, and then we can take it back to them again, and they'll see, maybe we get more refined in terms of what the board needs.
So
what they need.
I appreciate that very much, and especially, coming right just after our first full meeting, so I really do appreciate the request and the sentiment behind the request. I want to think, we can't do that right here, right now, so I'm trying to figure out logistically, should we, I don't know, should we each write something up? And we could collate it, or should we, I don't know. You
Sounds like a good idea.
I would suggest
Mr. President.
Dear leader. Dear leader. This is what I would suggest. If everybody could think about that. Send me an email, and then since I'm the liaison with the board, I can take the common themes, present that to them, and then and I'll give you back all what I'm getting as a common theme for everyone. So it's not a debate in
a vision scope of
what we want this committee to do.
Okay.
What we want them to come up with.
What are we hoping them to deliver at the end?
Yeah, that's great. Okay, I think that sounds like a very good.
We've given them a 5 or 6 point explanation of what we want this project to look like specifically. So I don't know, we'll see. I mean, I think put something together anyways and we'll see what it looks
Yeah.
like, you know, and.
We'd like to be able to bring something back.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
But it could just also involve partly re-emphasizing the freedom for them.
Right. Yeah.
To, you know, because I get like, you know, your boss wants the report, and you want to make sure that you know what your boss wants and all that. I mean, I totally have spent half my life doing that. But maybe there's room here also to re-emphasize, we want you to do this process. We trust you, you're a
Yep.
good group, well-balanced group, got the good facilitator helping you do your thing and see where it goes.
This is kind of funny because this is not unlike project-based learning with gifted kids. Where teachers trying to teach gifted kids project-based learning and the kids are like, well, no, what do I need to do? No, really, what do you want me to do?
I think there's a fear, just like looking at work.
Yeah, right, I get it.
With my boss, and I hope he's not watching. I have too many bosses, by the way. But I hope, you know, it's sort of like, they look at it and they go, that's not at all what I was expecting. I can't even tell you what I wanted, but this is
But this is it.
I'll take it and see it. Try again.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
I don't think, maybe that will happen.
Okay.
I've had this.
So within the next, well, 2 weeks, week and a half, maybe?
Well, you're fine with that if it's in the next week and a half.
Let's give
I
some
think
thoughts.
maybe in the next 4 or 5 days would be helpful because
4 or 5 days, because they're right,
they're
okay.
meeting next Wednesday.
So we're gonna leave here and get.
Although they're not really meeting next Wednesday, maybe it's next Wednesday, they're just doing the tour.
April 24th is the next meeting where we're all together.
Okay, so,
You got a few weeks.
okay.
That's where I think that I will be asked to.
All right, and I will send out
That's what I want
a
to you
nagging
for-
email
for
about
looking
that.
back
Thank you,
from
dear
us.
leader.
Yes, sir.
I think that moniker.
Does that fit?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
So they want you, when you're back as the ex officio, not influencing the process, reporting back on this thing they sent you to ask us about.
Right.
That's his job.
I was so
Yeah,
confused.
He's the go-between.
I think
Okay.
that, I think you could.
And if you have anything for them, he can pass that on to them.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Anything else to be said on the facilities assessment, on the task force?
No, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. who
So
is
I guess the
working on
one
it.
thing I'm just gonna
Truly.
keep, we had also been talking about a land use assessment.
I should talk about that a little bit, so.
Well, let's leave that
Okay.
for another time,
That's good.
since I think the answer is we don't quite have, so let's,
That's even more in the quandary.
yeah, but that is still on the
Yeah.
agenda, and we're not gonna let that drop. Okay. So now I want to move on to the adoption of our consent calendar, the administrative portion, that's items 4.2 through 4.5. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
So, you may talk, so 4.2 and 4.3 are the only new things that you haven't probably seen before, and I think it's to point out what that is. This is essentially the grants to increase the diversity of teaching staff.
Right.
So it's called the Ideal Grant Project, and so we need to officially hire a coordinator and mentor teachers. So these are new sort of supplemental positions that we will hire as a district for next year, fully the grant funded. And so the idea would be then the grant would fund those positions in the next year when we officially start the process.
Is
So,
this still November?
yes, this is.
That money has to be spent by June 30th,
Right.
so I know John
Yep.
Like
was
this June
working
30th?
furiously.
Yeah, it's a little bizarre, but it has to spend
Okay.
because the grants.
How do we
yeah.
spend it this
Barbecue?
year and then use it to pay for these positions next year?
Well, I think we're gonna have to hire him this year. I just
Yeah.
don't think that they know who the mentor teachers are going to be as of yet. And we'll probably have to pay them
They'd be on this budget.
before June 30th because we have to do all of our final reporting. This is in with all of our other grants. It's actually one that I added in the appropriations.
Try to get an extension on
Well,
it.
like,
and
when is
then
the
we'll
work,
extend
the
it.
work's
They
not
would not
gonna
extend
happen
it.
by June 30th, right?
Well, we had a long discussion about that, and John Gudrell felt like in working with the person at Wittenberg that we can do some work that would have to be probably done in June after school is out, but get it done by June 30th.
Okay.
Or we're trying to work with Wittenberg on possibly like letting us prepay them and
Right.
then using the money down next year, but I don't know if we're gonna do that or not.
Okay.
That's treasurer's, that scares me.
Right.
Prepaying just never sounds good, but okay. I
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
forward to hearing more
Well, they
about
have a
this.
vested interest in the project too,
Right,
so.
right.
So I'm sorry.
No,
I just
that's
wanted to
great.
clarify. Because I didn't want to possibly hire them in May if we're going to, and then
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can we call the roll on that then, please?
TJ,
Yes.
Steve two,
Yes.
Sylvia,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Excellent, we'll move on to the personnel part of our consent calendar, and I want to check one thing here. Should this be 4.6 through 4.9? I think that I seem to have two
Oh, there's two
4.8s.
Yes. I didn't see that before.
Okay, so we'll just make sure to amend that.
The other 8 and 9.
So these, yeah, so we'll just make a note of that. Do I have a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second? Okay.
Yeah,
Anything
I think this is the
unusual?
longest list of these.
Yeah, I know, I was gonna say, these are the employments and then the unemployments and
This
the...
is pretty typical, very
Yeah.
similar to we did
Oh, no,
last
I
year.
know we do it every year. It just seemed like this is
Well,
A lot of
so,
people.
more
yeah.
names.
Let me just make sure, there's nothing I wanted to point out here, I
Okay.
don't think there is, but.
So can you explain about what's the non-renewal on some of them?
We just annually close them out, like we did it.
Okay, and
You
it's,
know, even if you're gonna do it next year, we close you out and then re-up
Right.
you when it's time.
Because the season has ended, so
I
therefore
see.
the task has ended.
so that's why it's a non-renewal for 2019, 2020,
Right.
versus next year. All right.
It's a one-year contract essentially.
Okay.
So fair play.
Right.
We automatically non-renew all of our supplements.
Okay.
Can we call the roll on that then, please?
Was there, you did, there wasn't a thing you wanted to?
No.
Okay.
No, it's pretty typical.
Steve two,
Yes.
Sylvia,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
TJ.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So we'll move on to board communications now, and can we have a report from down the road?
Indeed. So basically, I guess there's a bit of a hiccup, but it's still confidential at least.
Yep.
There's one,
Not anymore, not anymore.
I mean, like, I just can't name any names, but there's something can be built in that same area, and what a company has come and said that they would like to, and it wouldn't fit well at all with what the Career Center
It's a dispensary,
has.
isn't it?
And I have no comment.
I'm sorry, I'm just being
But,
inappropriate.
Interesting.
However, and so that's like, yeah, to a point where Stephen is coming to came and speak to us about the importance that it could have, and so there's a bit of a bump there. You picked a really
Yeah.
interesting
But they wouldn't
time.
be like
to
pulling
answer.
out of all their plans because of that, right? Or,
No, like the Career Center said.
okay,
But it would just be a
okay.
massive setback if that goes through, so it's just a hiccup that's been thought about, but
Okay.
beyond that, graduations are all coming up, and we have all the different dates. I didn't know they were in alphabetical order, which is interesting. All the different, I thought that was just an interesting thing to find out. And that, yeah, that was it.
Okay.
But no, it's still good, nothing bad with just that, keep an eye out.
Other board member items to share?
Shared mine.
You shared yours already? So I guess I'm just
Yeah, I was
gonna,
gonna do musical.
I was gonna
Jack's
say,
announced that
Jack
twice,
announced
so-
that musical,
Yeah.
Spring Sports. Spring Sports need your love, so come on out, especially, I mean, this was a great day for baseball. Usually, every time there's a baseball game scheduled, it's 38 degrees and raining, so, boy, those were fun seasons. Yeah. And I guess I want to just say to my fellow board members here that we're going to need to schedule an executive session probably next week. It will be very short. I'm hoping we'll do another one of those first thing in the mornings before we all go off to work, but I will send out an email polling you on which day, especially because Aida's not here right now, which day would work for everybody sometime towards the middle of next week.
And the 29th is we have the time now, right?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. on the 29th in executive session for the superintendent business. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn then?
So moved.
Second.
All right.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay.